We're down here on the bottom, and what I'd like to do is go ahead and draw another rectangle on the left and the right. Our last two drawings for 1 point perspective. And on this one, it's going to be initial 1 point. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of setting this up. So the top is 2 point, the bottom is 1 point. We're going to do a little test in these two boxes using your initials. So we're not doing it yet, so please don't do anything, but just know that that's why those boxes are there. I'm just kind of setting that up for the future. In this last bottom right box, I'm going to zoom into the bottom right corner. Maybe I'm going to zoom in. Just kidding. Whoa. So in the very, very bottom right corner, my last 1 point example here. So we have the understanding, hopefully, if my horizon line is higher, that means I'm going to see the top of things. If my eye level, my horizon line is straight on, I'm not going to see the top or bottom. If my horizon line gets moved down, like we're going to do on this last one, move the stuff. So on this last one, I'll move the horizon line lower to the bottom of my picture plane. I'm still going to use 1 point, because the entire bottom half of this practice sheet is 1 point. I want to be able to see the bottom of the box. So I also don't always have to have my vanishing point right in the middle. I can move my vanishing point anywhere on the horizon line. The on the horizon line is the important part. So what happens if I put my vanishing point way over here on the edge of the paper on the horizon line? If I want to put a box that I can see the bottom, that means I have to put it up in the sky. So just like with 1 point, always we have to start by drawing a box. So up here in the sky on the left hand side, go ahead and draw a box. I'm using the power of my see-through ruler and the edges of my paper each time. I just keep my pen on the surface of the paper when I start to feel really confident about what I'm doing. And each time I'm just going back and forth, using the edge of my paper, looking through my see-through ruler to make sure I have a perfectly vertical and horizontal box. I want to see the bottom of this box. That's why I'm putting it in the sky. That's why I'm putting my horizon line lower on the picture plane. So with 1 point perspective, I can draw lines vertically and horizontally as I already have. Now I need to make orthogonal lines, and I can only put them to the vanishing point, the corners that are closest. There are 3 corners closer to this vanishing point. The only one I will not connect is the one way up here. If I connect that one, can you imagine what would happen? It'd just be a line drawn through my box. This should be the front face of the box. I could even shade this just so I don't make a mistake and draw through it. So don't draw through the box. So with precision, I'm putting my pen, your pencil, whatever drawing material, on my vanishing point and sliding it until it hits perfectly at that intersection. It has to be perfect. I'm going to do it to all 3, and then I'll move my ruler out of the way so you can see. Each time, a lot of precision. I'm pushing hard down on my ruler to make sure that I'm getting nice clean edges and my ruler's not shifting as I draw. So I've connected the top right, the bottom right, and the bottom left corners to my vanishing point.
All the way, like straight line all the way.
I just took it all the way. This would be like the longest floating box ever. This box is the one that I see the most mistakes on. And here's why. You can only use vertical, horizontal, and orthogonal. Almost always, what I witness is, instead of keeping this side wall that we're about to draw vertical and this bottom wall horizontal, this ends up being a weird angle and this ends up being a weird angle. It must be vertical. So here's how you can test yourself. Use your see-through ruler. You can line your vertical up, slide it over. Notice how this vertical edge is also meeting this vertical edge on my ruler. At any point, you can draw another vertical on the side. I'll make this wall a little bit shorter. So I'm lining up. I can see through my ruler on a nice vertical line here. I'm going to draw a vertical that will connect the first two. So the first two wall, the top and this middle one, it's only going to connect those two. This line must be vertical. That line right there is one of the most difficult lines to draw. It's so easy to let that become a little bit angled or skewed one way or another. We have to make sure we keep that perfectly vertical. So this wall, and this wall must be vertical. They're going to be parallel to each other. This wall, and this wall are parallel and they are vertical. So we know that horizontal is our last option. So I'm going to use the power of my see-through ruler. That's the horizontal of that top wall. If I slide it down, this line and this line are lining up. Right where that vertical came down and hit, this is by far the hardest line to draw in this whole drawing. Right where that point hit, I have to make sure this stays horizontal. It cannot have any angle at all. So I love see-through rulers because look what I can do. I lined up my vertical walls and I lined up my horizontal walls the best that I can to make sure that this line I'm about to draw is in fact horizontal. That wall is so tricky. It must be horizontal. And write this down. Must be horizontal. And I want you to put an arrow to that bottom line you just drew, this line right here, and this line right here. Because the only reason that that would not be horizontal would be because you just made a mistake. So maybe you thought it was horizontal and your angle is off a little bit. This is the wall right here that almost everybody makes a mistake and they make it angled. And almost always it's kind of an angle this way. This wall and this wall must match each other. They have to be horizontal with each other. It's tricky. So super tricky. That's where I think one point is actually a little bit harder. Because I think getting those verticals and horizontals just perfect on, man, that's tough stuff.